How's it going, guys? I'm coming at you with a deck profile for my take on Dabi, who arguably is my favorite character out of My Hero. We're playing him under the Chaos symbol. To give you a little bit of background just about myself, my name is Crossfate. I have been playing My Hero since its release. I've been playing Universes as a whole since its release. Um, so yeah, I don't want to waste a whole lot of time talking about the character itself. We all kind of know what Dabi does at this point. He slams a lot of damage onto moves, and then he makes one move, giant with throw, unless they decide to blow up their board. We'll go ahead and get directly into our attack lineup. It is 18 attacks that we're playing in our 54 card deck. The first one is 1.3 million volts. It's basically a mainstay in Air, Chaos, and Order decks, in my opinion. This card's always great at the beginning. It's always great at the end of a string. Pretty easy slot in, honestly. I'm running 4 copies of Double Jab Pummel. I like this card a lot in Dabi. This card says that it's an 8 damage move that if you block, I fuel 2 cards for my once per game, and it also lets me string into my sequence even longer than I should be able to early on. I'm only running 3 copies of Electric Jolt. I don't think this card needs to be at a 4x because we're not trying to get to turns 3 and 4 really, or even 4 and 5. Um, so it being in our momentum doesn't really matter a whole lot because this card's value is in its momentum. Its face value is only as a 4 damage move. We're playing 3 copies of Cheerful Uppercut. This card plays very good defense in our deck, so if we are going second, we don't die to the birds and the osweys of the format. But then on offense, this card accidentally can become 11 damage in our character, which is nothing to scoff at all. The last of the attacks, we're running 2 copies of Pillar Swing and 2 copies of Home Run Comet. I'm going to get back to Pillar Swing in just a second. Home Run Comet obviously is just a good finisher move for decks, especially since we're running all the charge moves. This means that this attack can easily get to powerful 5, powerful 6 if we have a long string and be able to pump 12 damage on it on its own. And then Pillar Swing is my personal hot take on the deck. I think this card's very good, especially when you combine it with League Interview, which we have in our Foundation line. So that's the reason why I decided to play 2 copies of this. So as our first move, we can just slam a lot of damage immediately, and they know that the next moves are going to be coming in for at least the amount that this one is. For our foundations, I'm running 4 copies of Requesting Assistance in the deck. It's just another one of the mainstay foundations that I think we're running on Air, Chaos, and Order. Nothing really more needs to be said about it. It's amazing. We're running 3 copies of First Day of Class. This means that our double jab homos never can fail in our deck, and I think that's a pretty big thing in my opinion without having to commit 2 foundations for it. I'm running 3 copies of Irrefutable Force of Nature. Being able to seal Walklings, Apathetics, things like that, rescue completeds are pretty big, and so that's why we're running it as a 3. If you don't think you're going to run up against a lot of water decks, you probably put this down to a 2, but I've had the most success with a 3x. League Interview, I'm running at a 3. This is primarily because we're running our 2 copies of Pillar Swing. I think they're kind of a go together package. So if you're running one, you're running the other. If you're not running one, you're not running the other either. Um, because I don't really care about the 6 check a whole lot because it's only big on my first move. Since we are using double jab Hummel to help boost our checks through the turn. We're running 3 copies of Frozen. This is just a good card to pressure their foundations after we've already used our once per game on Dabi. Again, not much more needs to be said about it. 3 copies of Struggling with Studies. This helps protect our foundations from opposing apathetics, and it just plays good defense on a spam foundation with a low block. I'm playing 3 copies of Training with Gunhead because we're running League Interview and Double Jab Pummel. So this gives us a bit of extra speed on a character that doesn't give a lot of speed. If I was to cut League Interview and Pillar, I would probably put this down to a 2x though, because of getting rid of 3 ways to trigger it. We're playing 3 copies of Release. I'd run the 4 copies, but it's a 4 check, so I'm not that worried about it. And we're not playing as heavy defense as other decks are, but it's just a good 0 difficulty foundation, obviously. And then Clever Distraction, I'm running as my last 3x of the deck. This says Enhance Flip, -2 speed to my opponent's Tongue Whips, or Indiscriminates, or Frog Lashings, or Cannon Blasts. And I think those cards are showing up a decent bit, so that way if we do have to play some defense, this helps us out. For our 2Xs, we're running 2 copies of Final Exam Failure. This is another really cool foundation, I think, that pressures opponents' foundations after we've once per gamed. It is either a stun 1, or it's a potential stun 3 or destroy a ready foundation, which can go a long way. Running 2 copies of Rock and Attitude, this just means that we get to block with our moves and be able to put them into our momentum to use them for later for our things like Cheerful Uppercut or Home Run Comet, or we block with our Electric Jolts and be able to put them into our momentum to have a target committal going into our second turn or third. Running 2 copies of Shock Treatment, it's just a good target committal again, especially if you get to play Rock and Attitude's response and then open up into your next turn with Shock Treatment. You can get rid of 2 problematic pieces. And then lastly is 2 copies of Wealthy Aspiration. It's a card that I think is just fine. Since we can kind of snap momentum randomly, I think it's fine at a 2, but I think it's the first card that I would cut out of the deck once we get more options available, especially more low blocks for the deck. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the entire deck. If you liked it or anything, please let me know. I would love to talk everything about it. I'll be doing more of these videos in the coming weeks with more deck profiles, and maybe even start doing some gameplay videos for you guys and everything as well. If you haven't already, please sub to the channel, like, and then maybe comment down below what other deck profiles you guys would like to see. And then if you haven't already, please go to my Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/crossfate. If you follow me on there, I'll go live. I'll be playing games of My Hero, Valorant, Multiverses, League, kind of whatever I'm really feeling at the time. But everyone's always allowed, and I would always love to just talk games with people. So with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.